Hello everyone. So I recently just watched The Flash, not the show, but the movie. I know I'm definitely a little late to the party because I'm pretty sure this movie came out about a little over a year ago now. But I just recently got around to watching it. And while I don't think it's much of a movie in terms of quality or story, I still feel like I have to get this out there and talk about my personal opinion on it. So originally I wasn't actually going to watch this movie because everything I had heard about it pretty much told me that it wasn't really worth the watch. I don't think I saw a positive review anywhere. And besides that, I knew about the stuff about the actor playing the Flash, so that was also kind of a turn-off for me. So I wasn't really planning on watching it. But recently they put it on Netflix, and me and my dad kind of have a hobby of binge-watching stuff on Netflix together, like shows and movies and whatnot. We're a big fan of the Arrowverse and have watched several of those shows, including Arrow and The Flash. And so when he saw that it was on Netflix, he wanted to watch it, and so I was like, whatever, I guess we can watch it. I figured that I'd at least have kind of a good time watching it, even though I wasn't expecting anything great. But after watching it, I can say that I was pleasantly surprised, I guess. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I'm gonna get into the plot of the movie and what I think of it, and why I don't think it's really as bad as most people say. I mean, it wasn't great or anything, but I don't think it deserved nearly all the hate it got. So the plot of the movie is pretty much Barry Allen, the Flash, travels back in time to save his mother, which is also a plot point in the Flash TV show. So he goes and does that and ends up changing pretty much the entire universe and how it's supposed to be. So that's pretty much the plot of the movie. So now I'm going to summarize the movie, so if you don't want to hear all of that, you can skip to whatever time I'm done talking about it, which I will put in this video. But you might want to stick around because most of my commentary is going to be during the summary of the movie, so yeah. Anyway, the movie opens with Barry working with the Justice League to stop a terrorist attack, or something like it. We get to see Batman, or Batfleck, as well as Wonder Woman and Alfred. Superman didn't appear in this movie. He's, I guess, off saving the world somewhere else, so we don't get to see him. Anyway, it's clear this movie takes place sometime after Justice League, as all these characters now know each other. Anyway, we get to see Barry in action, saving people, and there's that one scene, which I've seen a bunch of memes on, with Barry saving the babies, which is still cringe, but not as cringe as it was made out to be, so it wasn't as bad as I thought. Not to say that scene wasn't weird, though, I'm not saying that. Definitely one of the weirdest scenes in a superhero movie I've seen. Anyway, we get to see Batman and Wonder Woman, and Barry interact with them a little bit. Also, there's this weird scene where Barry and Batman have the lasso of truth around them, and they just start volunteering information, which I'm pretty sure that's not how the lasso of truth works, but whatever. That was just kind of random. And then after that, we get into the main plot of the movie, where Barry is trying to get his dad acquitted for his mom's murder, which he was accused of, and has been in jail for ever since, similar to the Flash show. Although in this version, it's unknown who killed Barry's mother, because unlike the show, with the culprit being Reverse Flash, we don't really know what happened to her. So that's kind of left up to mystery, which I didn't know if we would find out later in the movie what happened, but we never did, so it is what it is, I guess. But anyway, Barry talks to Iris West a little bit, and then she gives him the idea to travel back in time, and what he can do to save his mother back in time. So he goes and does that, and then once he runs back, everything seems like it's all good, like his mother is alive and it's all he's ever wanted. But of course we know he's caused Flashpoint, or this movie's version of it. So Barry starts having dinner with his mother and father when he sees himself coming to the house. So he realizes that there's two of him, that him running back, he didn't just run into his own body, there's another version of him. So pretty much what happens is Barry teams up with his alternate self and realizes that he might not get powers if he isn't at Star Labs at the time of the lightning storm. So he goes to Star Labs to try and make his other self get powers so that he won't lose them himself. And the lightning strikes them both, and his alternate self gets powers, but he loses his powers. So now Barry is powerless, and other Barry has the powers. So it's kind of an awkward situation of him trying to figure out what to do about that, and the other Barry being completely irresponsible with his powers. Also, one thing I will say is that it has nothing to do with the actor even, but the character of Barry in this universe is just kind of annoying to me. Like, even in Justice League, he just didn't really feel like Barry, and just felt like more annoying than anything. Like, I know Barry Allen is supposed to be weird and quirky, but this was, like, too much weird and quirky, to the point where he seemed like he would be insufferable to even be around. And the other Barry is, like, twice as bad as that, and even Barry himself notices that. So yeah, that's one thing I will say, like, even my dad, like, we were talking about it as we were watching, and we were saying, like, we didn't really like this version of Barry Allen that much. So anyway, here comes the main conflict of this movie. General Zod arrives on Earth because I guess Barry, when he went back in time, he changed the timeline so that General Zod was still alive. And so he and the other Kryptons come to Earth. Sorry, I think it's Kryptonians. Anyway, they start to invade Earth, and it's pretty much the plot of Man of Steel all over again. And so Barry knows that he has to find a way to stop Zod and save this world because it's the one where his mother is alive in, and he doesn't want to lose it. So he goes out looking for heroes, except that on this Earth or world, there aren't really a whole lot of them. He manages to find Batman, which is played by Michael Keaton, the original Batman actor. And at first he has trouble convincing him to join them, but eventually he does. And then they go to find Superman, and they find out that he's being imprisoned in some Russian base in the Arctic. Only when they get there, they find out that it's not actually Superman, it's Supergirl. So there's some fun action sequences with them raiding the base and rescuing Supergirl. We get to see Batman fight and Supergirl fight. So overall at this point I wasn't too disappointed. So Barry still wants to get his powers back because he thinks if he can tap into the Speed Force he can somehow fix things. But the other Barry is the one with the powers, and he's not really too useful with them. So Barry decides to recreate the lightning strike to see if it will give him his powers again. And he does this, it fails, he gets really hurt, and then Supergirl comes and, I guess, lifts him up into the sky, and he gets struck by lightning there and gets his powers back. I didn't really understand that whole part of how that worked, but whatever. Anyway, Supergirl, who before had been hesitant about joining them as well, decides to join them. And so they go to fight Zod and save the world. Anyway, they get there, they fight Zod, and you find out that Superman, Clark, got intercepted by Zod in this world, and they killed him. And Kara, Supergirl, is the one they need to create the, I don't know, like, DNA splicer thing that will allow them to live on Earth. So Supergirl, when she finds out her cousin was killed, goes into a rage and starts fighting Zod. And meanwhile, the two Barrys and Batman fight the other Kryptonian invaders. Anyway, there's a long, drawn-out fight scene, which was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I was actually entertained. And then Zod kills Supergirl, and Batman dies too. So then the one Barry, the other Barry, tries to run back in time to save both of them, but they keep on dying. Like, even when he runs back in time over and over, they can't seem to change the two of them dying. And this goes on for a while, with him just running back and Supergirl and Batman just dying over and over anyway. And the real Barry eventually figures out that this is, I guess, a fixed point, and that they can't stop what's happening, and that this world is destined to die, which Barry had been told at multiple points earlier in the movie what happens when you change time, and that you can't really fix things. And so the other Barry keeps trying to run back because he thinks he can fix it, and then they encounter this monster or Savitar kind of creature that Barry had encountered earlier in the movie when he first ran back. And I say Savitar because it turns out that this creature, or whatever it is actually the other Barry. Like, he kept running back in time over and over, and I guess eventually became that. And so the creature tries to kill Barry, but the other Barry blocks it, and he dies, and the creature dies, and then Barry runs back to the original time, and everything gets erased. And then he goes back to the point where his mom was in the store, which this was how he saved her before, by grabbing a can of tomatoes because she forgot tomatoes, and that was why his dad had to leave the house. And then she ended up dying, so Barry thought that if he prevented that from happening, like his dad having to leave, that his mother might survive, and I guess that's what happened. Again, we don't know what killed her for sure, it's never revealed, so I didn't really understand all of that. But anyway, Barry undoes what he did, and his mom ends up dying, and then the world is, I guess, reset. And his dad actually ends up getting acquitted because when Barry put the tomatoes back after taking them from his mom, he put them on the top shelf, and his dad wasn't able to get acquitted before because the security camera footage didn't show him looking up, so they didn't see his face, but he ended up having to look up in this timeline, so they were able to acquit him. And so his dad is released from prison. But then toward the end, Barry meets with Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne is a different person than Ben Affleck. So Barry realizes that he didn't completely fix all that he messed up. So yeah, that was the Flash movie. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best for me. I guess what I'm trying to say is it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, according to the other people online that I was listening to. I mean, don't get me wrong, it isn't the best movie out there, and it's far from being anything super good, but I didn't think it was as bad as what people were saying. To me, it was just a movie. It wasn't really, like, something incredibly great. It's just kind of something you watch in your free time to entertain you for a few hours, and I was entertained by it for most of it. I still thought that Barry was kind of annoying, and that kind of was a damper on it for me, but other than that, I think the movie was pretty entertaining. It had some good characters like Batman, Supergirl, and I liked how they brought General Zod back, even if it was for a short time. So overall, I liked it. The funny thing is, though, my dad, who was the one that convinced me to watch it in the first place, actually walked away not liking it, which his main reason was he didn't really like the Barry character either. And I think a lot of people don't, and I can definitely see why that would ruin the movie for some people. And I am aware that them bringing back Michael Keaton for Batman was probably nostalgia bait, but I mean, it probably worked for a lot of people, and honestly, I didn't really mind that too much. I haven't actually seen the original Batman anyway, but I think that The Flash has some entertaining fight scenes and plot points that were enough to keep me watching the movie. So overall, I think it was an okay movie. Not the worst, but not the best either. I know I already said that, but still. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I wanted to get that out there just because that's how I felt about it. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this since this movie came out a year ago, but anyone who does will just know that that's what I think about this movie. Anyway, what did you think about the Flash movie? Did you think it was an okay movie, or did you really not like it? And if so, why? Or if you really did like it, then why did you think it was amazing? I pretty much said all I have to say about it now. See you in my next video.